Welcome to the Hawkins Observer, a podcast where two half-lifelong friends recap and analyze every episode of Stranger Things as we prepare for the release of the final season this November.
As always, we'll give you a scene-by-scene recap discussing the plot and developments, as well as sharing our thoughts, memories, and reactions.
In this episode, we do not pick up where we left off. If you're familiar with this show, this is the famous Lost Sister episode as we join Eleven on an entirely new curiosity voyage and either endure or enjoy a departure of plot with a new setting and all new characters. We delve into the dark side of what's possible for Eleven as we see her tempted by a different life.
So, if you're bored of the rural Hawkins, enjoy the hustle and bustle of a big city and join us as we warm ourselves by Season 2, Episode 7, The Lost Sister.
This is the one. I was mentioning to you earlier, if you're just binging these episodes and just kind of going one after the other, just kind of eager to like chew more of what's going on in the story, this one feels so abrupt and annoying in a way because you're like, I want to know what's happening over there. But then if you're diving into it the way we are, it's really like great to like pause and kind of go into a different, totally different setting and characters. And I love this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we'll get right into it. Right at the very, very beginning, we hear the echo of Eleven from the time that she and Terry were in the void together. And Eleven says, Mama, it's me, Jane. And then we hear Terry again say, no, as we did before. And we're pushed right into a flashback of Terry's vision where she's repeating rainbow, sunflower, 3 to the left, 4 to the right, 450, breathe, rainbow. And we hear the gunshot from Terry's gun in the lab's lobby. We see Eleven and Terry's sister at the table at the Ives house. Eleven is recounting to the sister what she saw in the void with Terry, and she hones in on the other girl in the rainbow room. She says, she's different than me. And I think that's why Mama wanted to talk. I think she wants me to find her. And remember, there was that other girl in the rainbow room with her. Terry's sister shows her a file folder of other missing kids. And Eleven flips through a bunch of articles and photos until she finally finds the picture of the girl that she recognizes from the vision. She enters the void again with the static on the TV, but she says, I couldn't find her. Eleven is laying on a cot in her room at the Ives house and flashes into the void after seeing images of Collie from before. In the void, she sees grown-up Collie standing at a barrel fire, and as Collie turns around, Eleven snaps out of the trance and runs through the house. Becky, that's the sister's name. Becky, I found her. Becky is on the phone talking to someone, and she says, I don't know who to call. She just gave me this number. I thought maybe he could help me. She finally mentions Jim Hopper and Joyce Byers. She says, I think there's another girl that's missing, and I think that she might be in trouble. We find out that it's Flo or Florence from the Hawkins police that Becky is talking to. Eleven is overhearing this conversation. She leaves before Becky is off the phone. Becky finds out eventually that Eleven has taken some stuff from her purse, likely some money, and Becky realizes that Eleven is gone. We cut to Terry in her chair watching TV as the News Channel 8 logo comes onto the screen. Opening credits.
8. Oh.
Like Channel 8 News.
Yeah.
As the 8 logo comes on the screen, Terry's watching TV.
I just got that right now, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah, so from my previous times watching this, I just knew I was suspicious about the sister, and I couldn't remember why, but this is why. I thought she was going to betray Eleven to the Hawkins lab, but she actually the sister Becky does have Eleven's best interest in mind, but she just knows that at this point she can't take care of Terry and Jane in this situation. So it makes sense that she calls the Hawkins police to say, hey, they told me to call if anything happens or changes, and I didn't know how else to call. So she really does have Eleven's best interest in mind by calling the Hawkins police.
Yeah. And Eleven has some of Becky's money.
Mm-hmm.
So Eleven is now on a bus as it rains. She's just looking out the window. She sees images of Collie in the void and sees images of an industrial building and people around a barrel fire. It's funny, 11 can just enter the void now, kind of whenever she wants to.
Hmm.
The bus pulls into Illinois. We see the state sign of Illinois. 11 gets off the bus in the middle of a bustling downtown. It's crowded, and 11 looks a little out of place as she navigates the people. She's looking confident and determined. And we hear the song Runaway playing in the background. She's a little runaway. Classic. 11 makes her way to a kind of skid row under a bridge where lots of people are hanging around, homeless ruffians riffraff around the barrel fire. She makes her way to an even more remote area of the city and sees a door to a building she recognizes from her vision. She enters this building and sees people who come get up to address her, and we recognize them from the high speed chase at the beginning of season two. They make fun of her, but she says, I'm looking for my sister. She shows them a photo of Kali. She says, Is that Kali? A man named Axe pulls a knife on 11, asking how she found them. And eventually the man freaks out and drops the knife as though bugs are crawling on his skin. From the stairs, we see Kali.
Spiders, not just any bugs.
We find out it is spiders. Kali is standing on the steps and she says, um, I don't think she says anything, but Axe says, I told you to stay out of my head. They show Kali the picture of her that 11 brought, and Axe goes to reach for his knife from the ground. 11 grabs it with her mind, and 11 says, I saw you in the rainbow room. Kali pulls up her sleeve to reveal the 11 tattoo, and Kali shows her the 8 tattoo, and they both say sister and they hug. Here they already.
This this was one of the most amazing scenes to date. Like the the how the tension is broken. 11 in this strange place, these people very skeptical of her. It almost looks, I mean, it looks dangerous for 11 if we didn't think she could take care of herself. But then this number 8 has a moment with number 11, and it's really touching. It's like, wow, they've found each other, and it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, especially for 11, who is everything is missing in her memory. So,
Hmm.
like these pieces that she puts together is just more and more important.
Yeah.
Right now, on the rooftop of this same industrial building, Kali and 11 are speaking now in private without the others around. Kali asks her how long she's been with the policeman, and 11 says 327 days. Kali explains that her gift is different and says that she can make people see or not see whatever she wants, and makes 11 see a really pretty glowing butterfly in front of her. 11 reaches out to touch the butterfly, but she can't because it's not real. And she asks Kali if she's real and reaches out to touch her face. And they share a moment while 11 kind of pokes her as she's determining what's real and what's not. Back inside this hideout, Kali gets 11 a blanket on a makeshift bed and says she feels whole now, like a piece of me was missing and now it's not. I think your mother sent you here for a reason. I think this is your home, 11 says. Home? And Kali says, yes, home.
Yeah. So far we're like, wow, what, these sisters have found each other, and we're happy for 11 that it looks like she's going to have some a sense of belonging for once, because she's not the freak by herself. Like, if this is her sister, now it really looks like she's going to feel like she belongs somewhere.
Yeah, and unlike Hopper, Hopper had all these rules about safety and like all these restrictions, and this does not appear to be anything remotely like that.
Nope.
Downstairs at the hideout, a police scanner is running as the criminals talk and make fun of Kali as she comes down speaking to 11. They sing Old McDonald to rib her because this, little kid is so out of place. Kali is unbothered and she tells them 11's gift of finding people without moving because she found Kali with only an old photo. Kali's like, You guys don't understand.
Yeah.
She says that she wants to do one tomorrow. The others are not on board, saying that they're too hot right now. I guess they already just did one or something. And then they said after killing all of their men, uh, you know, they're not just going to let them go. But Kali insists that they leave tomorrow. And Axe, this guy Axe with the mohawk, is not very happy about it. And he throws a knife at a clown target.
Yeah. What does that mean, that they're hot right now? What have they been doing? This is weird.
Yeah, the only thing we know about them is that kind of high speed chase, and we don't even
Hmm.
really know what they did. But um, all right, now in the void, we go right to the void. We see nothing but Hopper's cabin table, where the answering machine is playing his message to 11 from the last episode, where he says, "I'm not mad, I'm just sorry." As
Mm.
it echoes into the void, 11 is there. Obviously, she approaches this answering machine. She listens, but as it ends, a hand reaches from behind her and scares her out of the void. And she's back in her bed at the hideout, and Kali has her hand on her, and she says, "It's okay. It's only me." Kali says it's time to meet her friends properly and that it's late and that she slept well. They walk around meeting the criminals one by one: Axel, Dottie, Mick, Funshine, etc. She kind of introduces them like Mike talked about their party. You know,
Mm.
so and so is the eyes, so and so is the protector. He's our warrior. Kali says
Ah.
they're not like them with their powers, but are like them as outcasts.
Hmm.
Axel says freaks. So they're all kind of in the same boat, they say. They all say that Kali saved them, and so now they help her. They say they are all fighters. 11 says, "Fight who?" And Kali explains their mission here. She dumps out a bunch of
Mm.
IDs and badges, etc., all on the table, and says that people are all in some way responsible for what happened to them. 11 says, "You hurt the bad men?" And she says, "No, we just pat them on the back." We find out that sarcastically, we find out that they are not bank robbers like we maybe originally thought, but they're
Hmm.
vigilantes who kill criminals, making them quote unquote pay for their crimes, especially crimes against people in that group. 11 says that she's a fighter too, and she says, "I've killed." Kali walks 11 outside and explains that 11 shouldn't suppress her pain. She's kind of appealing to her dark side here. She says, you need to confront it in order to heal. She asks 11 to draw a huge train car in the distance to them. 11 begins moving it, but she can't make it move more than just a couple inches off the ground. Kali finally tells her, kind of Sith style, to channel her anger. 11 tries again by remembering all these bad memories of Hopper yelling at her and Max skating around and Mike, Dr. Brenner, Mama, etc. And she moves the train car after a scream all the way from where it was, maybe 100 yards away, all the way to her. And she collapses. The others are there now, and they all cheer and congratulate her. And she says, "I feel good."
So here we learn so much more about the dynamics of Kali's group. Her friends say that Kali has saved them. So essentially, they are they're being led by her. Whatever Kali's mission in life is now, they are supporting her mission. And we find out that Kali's mission is, you said it best, being a vigilante and essentially getting revenge on all of these agents that had something to do with Kali's past.
Yep. And I got the impression too, people who maybe had messed up all these other people too, Axe and Dottie and Mick and Funshine, they all have
Hmm.
their own people who kind of did them wrong in the past. And so they're kind of pooling all these resources together to exact revenge as they see fit.
Yep.
Okay, so back in the hideout, Kali shows 11 a kind of a corkboard of all the quote unquote bad men. And 11 is looking and she finally sees a man she recognizes. And she says, "Him." As we see the man in Mama's vision being the man who cranked the machine up to 450 in the lab. We get that little short flashback of Brenner saying 450, and this man is the one who cranks the knob. Callie
Mm.
says, "His name is Ray Carroll, and he did more than hurt your mother." And we see images from Collie's vision now of him hurting her with like an electric prod at the lab as well. Colley says that they've been hard to track, but maybe not anymore, given that Eleven's gift is finding people. 11 has a blindfold on with radio static. She unplugs the radio, takes off the blindfold, and nods at the rest of them as if to say, "I found him." They
Hmm.
pull out a phone book and identify the location. They agree to go, even if it's a risk. There's some conversation about maybe we still shouldn't go, but they're like, it's worth the risk. Holly and the others dress 11 up more like them, slick her hair back, dark eye makeup, etc. It kind of seems unnecessary, but it fits the description. Finally, they finish and they tell her bitchin', and she's like, bitchin'. Um, my note, my note autocorrected to Bitcoin, which is really funny.
Bitcoin.
She's like bitching, and they leave in their van as they give 11 a mask that fits her, and it's like this little baby mask. So cool.
Yeah. I was also wondering what your note, like, I don't remember them using the word Bitcoin. Like, oh yeah, bitchin'. It's probably the first time Eleven used a cuss word too, and it's funny that it's
Yeah,
to describe her. But yeah, they totally make her look like a badass. Like before, again, they were making fun of her because she looked like a farm girl because she was wearing overalls, but now she looks the point of like a freak or a punk or a, almost on the way to being a goth.
yeah,
And this is just further making Eleven feel like, oh, I'm one of them now. These are my people. So,
yep. Okay, so after they leave in the van, they stop at a gas station to stock up, and Collie makes the worker at the gas station see a flooding bathroom there in his little store, and he like runs to go take care of it and deal with it as they all shoplift supplies. And I think Axel says, "All right, ladies and gentlemen, you have 2 minutes or whatever, like supermarket sweep." 11 grabs many boxes of Egos. Axe opens the cash drawer as the man comes out of the bathroom and sees what's going on. He's being robbed, and he pulls a gun on him. Collie explains that his cash is insured and they're only stealing from the billionaires who owned the store. She's this like kind of Robin Hood character, like,
hmm
we're not stealing from you, man. We're stealing from, the man with a capital M.
hmm
He continues to point the gun, and 11 finally just throws him against the wall, and they all escape as police sirens approach.
Yeah, here, we get a further look into Collie's mind, why she justifies everything she does at this point, including steal from a gas station. It's because, they're not, they're doing the right thing in essence because it's the billionaires that own this place and make
Yep.
everybody. It's essentially a modern argument of the 99% and the 1%. So, Collie's justifying their actions in that way.
Yeah. Collie's doing a lot of justifying in this episode. Like I said, Robin Hood kind of, steal from the rich to give to the poor, or in
Mhm.
this case, it's vigilante justice. Like everything they do that is criminal behavior is totally justified because their end is justifying the means.
Yep.
All right, they arrive at the apartment complex for this Ray Carroll guy, and 11 closes her eyes and finds him, I guess, and says, he's watching television. I saw him, and they ask about anybody else, and she says, I didn't see anybody else. They all get out with their masks on, and then inside we see the man watching TV. The door unlocks from the outside. Obviously, now this is 11's kind of contribution. The man gets up as they all enter the apartment, and Kali says from behind her mask, hello, Ray. Funshine, this big, massive bouncer looking guy, throws him down, and they get his wallet kind of to confirm who it is and maybe to steal some cash. Kali and 11 unmask themselves in front of him. He says he doesn't remember them. They said, remember us. Kali finally makes the man see them as little girls, as they were in the lab with their outfits. They're standing, these little girls standing in front of him, and says, what about now? Do you recognize us now? Elle says, you hurt mama, and throws Ray against the wall. The man pleads with them and says, I just did what he told me to do. He said that she was sick. Kali says, you had a choice, Ray. You chose to follow a man you knew was evil. The man says, wait, I can help you find Brenner. I can take you to him. And then 11 is seen with tears in her eyes because she thinks that he's gone, that Brenner's gone. And this man is saying that he's alive. And she's conflicted about that. At least that's my interpretation. The man says, no, he's alive. I can take you to him. He trusts me. Kali says Jane can find him. Like, we don't need your help, Ray. Jane can find him just fine. Just like he found you. And she tells 11 to do it. 11 begins choking the man with her mind. Kali says, don't be too quick. He wasn't so generous with your mother. And 11 continues choking him, but sees a photo of Ray's kids on the ground that kind of fell as all of the scuffle happened. In the back bedroom, um, yeah, so she lets Ray loose when she sees the picture of the kids. In the back
hmm
bedroom, Axel is going through the house and he finds two teenage girls on the phone with police. Collie
Hmm.
pleads with 11 not to show mercy, and 11 won't. And Collie finally pulls a gun, but 11 whips the gun out of Collie's hands out of the window as the rest of them agree, like, we got to go because this did
Hmm.
not go to plan. Police arrive to the apartment as they run away and narrowly escape in their van. Collie is very angry at 11 and she scolds 11. Scolds might be too weak of a word. She kind of chastises 11 pretty strongly, like, hey, I'm not going to tell you that you can't show mercy, but don't never take away my choice. And 11 just looks really overwhelmed with everything that's happened.
One of the most amazing scenes I think in the whole
Yeah.
series to
Yeah.
date. The capability of Kali to transform this, what was his name, Ray, to transforms Ray's vision to say, now do you remember us? We
Yeah.
were the kids that you were awful to. Um, at first, we may believe Ray when he says, I thought she was sick. I just did what he told me to. But then Kali calls him out and like, no, you knew better. He was evil. And then we remember, oh yeah, Ray used like a stun gun on them as kids. Like there's really no excuse for that. So,
Yeah. That's a good point.
but you know, poor Jane, when she sees pictures of kids, that snaps her out of it because, you know, she still doesn't have a lot of experience in the world. She's still like mentally a little kid. And so when she sees that this man has children, it's enough to trip her up and be like, oh. So I've told people that this is a classic show of struggling with good versus evil. I've told people for a long time that this is why I like this show. And to be honest, the entire last season and up until this point, it felt like very basic good versus evil.
Yes.
But now we are going so deep into actual real life issues of struggling with internal hatred and revenge and, you know, like you said, vigilante justice. Like this is actual true struggles of good versus evil. And like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just absolutely, it's amazing that we feel the struggle every moment as it's playing out.
Yeah. This could be studied in an ethics course.
Hmm.
You know, did Ray do evil? Should he be held accountable for it?
Hmm.
Yes. Is Kali and Eleven's methods, especially Kali's, justifiable means to distribute that justice in this case?
Hmm.
I don't know. I mean, to Eleven's mind, she's like, she's understanding the ethical dilemma of, we were kids when this happened, and one of the crimes that he committed was these atrocities towards kids, and yet here we are in a very similar scenario. Does this justify killing this man in his own house in front of his kids? Like, is that and 11 can't do it. And
I,
Kali is not understand. She doesn't. She's like, you know, she really only wants 11 to help her. She only wants
mhm.
11 to help, you know, carry out Kali's plans. She's not willing to help 11 like struggle through her own dilemmas. Um,
Well, and Kali's hatred has perhaps, you know, it's just darkened her as a person where, uh, you know, hatred is something like that where it will, you know, take away all of your mercy. And in this
yeah,
situation, it has. Like, you know, this guy's a father now. Not that that justifies what he did, but Kali doesn't care. Like, you know, it's just her versus him in this moment. Um, I mean, we do remember like last season where 11, 11 seems to have a more clear-cut uh ethic of it's me versus them. And so in one of the final scenes where the bad lady and a couple soldiers are in the high school and they've all got guns and they're ready to pull the trigger and shoot 11 and her friends, they're ready to pull the trigger. And 11 in that moment says, "Oh, this is a me versus them situation." So she kills them. Like,
yeah,
so that's a much more clear, I mean, a slightly more clear-cut ethic of these people will kill me if I don't kill them, versus here we are now just exacting revenge on people that probably will never hurt you again, this Ray guy. But
Yeah.
now we're exacting revenge, so or justice.
Yeah.
Gosh.
And I think that that's the dilemma here. Kali is clearly pulling 11 to a dark side to
Hmm.
say, like, you need to channel your anger. You need to lean into all of those bad feelings
Hmm.
and let it guide you towards this kind of this righteous anger in Kali's mind to kill people
Hmm.
who can harm to you. Like Ray didn't kill anybody, and yet they're saying we need to kill Ray.
True.
So um so 11 at the end of this scene just looks so overwhelmed by what she's seen, what she's felt, that Brenner's alive. Kali is now like not supporting her.
Hmm.
So 11's in a weird place. Back at the hideout now, the police scanner continues as the others play poker. 11 is upstairs by herself, and Kali asks if she can sit with her. Kali tells 11 that she was once like her, but that they shouldn't have excused the man's sins, Ray, just because they were children, because they were also children. Kali recounts the story of when 11 was taken from the Rainbow Room. Kali ran away and found a place to hide. She said, I found a family, a home, just like her 11 and Hopper, but these people couldn't help her, so she lost them too. She's appealing again to 11. Kali decided to stop hiding and use her gifts against those who hurt them, and 11 now has the same choice to hide or to fight. She says, to fight the man who calls himself our father. 11 is conflicted and she says, Papa is dead. From behind her, Papa says, that man tonight disagreed. 11 turns around to see Dr. Brenner in the doorway of this hideout upper room. She turns and says, you're not real. And as he talks, 11 says, go away. Brenner tells her she has a wound that's festering. Festering is a rot that will grow and eventually kill you. 11 screams to get out of her head to Kali, essentially, and Brenner disappears. Kali tells her she has a choice to go back to Hopper, essentially to follow the life that Kali found to be insufficient, or to stay with her and let's heal our wounds together. Outside, black unmarked cars and police drive down a nearby alley. Agents and police are seen outside, strategically surrounding the building. 11 holds his shirt um, from home and remembers memories from Mike, Hopper, Dustin, the cabin, and she enters the void. She sees Hopper in the lab at the control panel, probably in real time or soon
Hmm.
thereafter, soon there before, as she sees he and Mike and others from previously panicking during the siege in the tunnels. She's recalling this. 11 hears banging and turns around, but is snapped out of the void as agents and SWAT enter the hideout building. They all huddle as Kali makes them invisible in the agents' minds. So they're like passing them as they just kind of are small as Kali makes them invisible. They exchange gunfire as they duck behind the van outside. Kali makes a massive way close off in their location from the police in their mind, like a big wall that like just, and the police are just so in awe of this massive wall that's erected in front of them. Kali urges 11 to get in the van. 11 says, I'm sorry, I have to go back. Kali pleads with her. We belong together. There's nothing for you back there. They can't save you. She's not appealing anymore. She's just now begging it directly. And 11 says, no, they have, essentially, no, there's nothing for me back there. They can't save me, but I can save them. And the van peels away as 11 escapes down an alley.
I mean, again, this whole justice versus revenge, um, this whole possibility of being not just to be the hero, but to save your friends. Uh, yeah, I don't know. There's just so much that we could go into here. How do we actually know Hopper's alive? Like maybe that dude was, maybe Ray was lying to preserve his own
Brenner?
life. Brenner, sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Maybe Ray was lying about Brenner just to be like, "Oh, he's alive. Don't kill me because I can take you to him." But then Kali uses that against Eleven in this a moment to stir up her righteous indignation or unrighteous indignation. That's where we're trying to sort through. Um, yeah, just absolutely the struggle is real, you know? None of us have supernatural powers, but it's still a situation where when you feel someone's wronged you, what's the right thing to do?
Yeah. And Kali, I think initially we could assume that she was trying to help Eleven. At
Hmm.
least there's a we could create that narrative that Kali's like, we need to heal together. You need to lean
Hmm.
into your anger and face it head on so that you can heal.
Hmm.
But then by the end of the episode, now here we are close to the end, Kali's not giving that same kind of appeal anymore. Now she's just like, don't go back there. They can't help you. They can't save you. We need you. And we think that Eleven's made the right decision because we just don't think that Eleven can justify in her own whatever moral compass she has is not going to allow her to do this.
Hmm.
And it's not that she doesn't want to be like Kali, it's just that she just can't really bring herself to do this. And then I think it's not insignificant either that she gets this shirt out that reminds her of home, or maybe that she brought from home that reminds her of friends like Mike and Hopper. She's kind of been changed. She's kind of been beaten to the punch. Like Kali didn't influence her first. Mike did by saying,
Hmm.
friends don't lie. Here's what a promise it
That's
means.
true.
And so by the time that Kali comes in with her temptation,
Ooh.
11 has a framework given by Mike and Hopper that there is such a thing as loyalty and kindness and empathy. And she has a framework to say, no, you're right. They can't save me, but I can save them. This kind of
Hmm.
selfless act that Kali probably doesn't know how to navigate. Because Kali and 11 kind of started on the same path. Kali went off this way after running away, and she's
Hmm.
pulling 11 that way. And 11's like, no, I kind of have something better back in Hawkins with Mike and,
Hmm.
and Hopper and my friends there.
And and I think, you know, it's it's strange that, number one, as Eleven leaves and Collie drives away, it's a great scene because Collie kind of looks heartbroken. Like
Yeah.
as the sisters finally separate and Collie has to drive away and escape with her friends, it's a great scene because she really does look truly heartbroken and shook up by the fact that that's all the time it appears that she's going to get with Eleven. And Eleven, it's she thinks that there's something wrong back in Hawkins. And so it's actually almost strange that she's not a little bit more panicked to get back there. But thankfully, Eleven took that vulnerable risk to go into the void and just check on things. Like she's been to the void before, or she's dealing with jealousy right now between Mike and what she thinks is a flirty relationship with Max. So she's dealing with her own sense of jealousy, which she actually channeled to become angrier in
Yeah.
that one scene. But despite her jealousy and what she thinks is probably a relationship between Mike and Max, even though we know it's not, she's still going to turn around and go home to help her friends. And as a result of her going into the void, she really hears Hopper's heart. Like in
Yeah.
person, he's had to have been kind of harsh and establish rules just to keep her safe. In person, he seems like a harsh dad. But when she goes into the void and just hears him apologizing, like she gets the real Hopper. She knows his heart. But then this last scene, he's at the control panels, and now we're pretty certain she needs to go back because they're in danger.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say the same thing about Hopper, but I think you're exactly right. And I think they're both heartbroken because I think 11 really she was so desperate to find Kali that she really was so happy when she did find her, and enough to like go with her on this journey
Hmm.
up to the point where she wasn't really able to anymore morally. But they're both, I think, realizing that their paths just are too divergent to join together, no matter how much both of them want it.
Right.
And I think Kali's also upset that, like, man, she was going to be our missing link. Like, she was going to be able to help us find all these people. And yeah, but they diverge there in that alley. And the next scene is 11 on a bus peering out the window. Very similar to the opening scene. A woman asks her what's wrong, and the woman sits down next to her, asks where she's headed to, and 11 says, I'm going to my friends. I'm going home. And she says uh, this right to the woman as we see the bus pull into, down the road past the sign for Welcome to the State of Indiana. That's rolling the end credits.
Yeah. So, oh man, this there's so much philosophy in this episode.
Yeah.
There's so much, you know, trying to justify or explain why people are doing what they do. Kali obviously thinks that her powers, Kali believes that she's a freak and that she could never have a normal life. If she
Yeah.
wanted a normal life, she would seek justice and blow this story open and have these bad people, this lab taken down. Like if she just wanted justice and to have someone of a normal life, that's what I would think she would want to do is expose what these people have been doing in this lab. But she doesn't believe that that the real world will ever accept her.
Yeah.
Her internal narrative is I will never get to live a normal life now because of what they've done to me. I'll always be a freak,
Yeah.
so I have to take this situation into my own hands and get revenge.
Yeah. Her moral compass is pointed. I mean, her true north is only revenge.
Mhm.
She might think of it as justice, but again, that's kind of in her warped idea of how important what they did to her was. And that's not to take anything away from what they did to her and 11 and
Exactly.
others we find out, but like the the reality is that 11 um 11's moral compass is pointed somewhere else, and she's tempted by this. I mean, she's not immediately like, no, I can't do that. Absolutely not. I mean, she's really conflicted. Um, but in this last scene, we see kind of the culmination of everything that's happened in Eleven's mind. She's been introduced in this episode to a sister with new friends and a new home. Kali is telling her multiple times, these are our friends. These are people who, we have helped, or I have helped, and they help me now. And we are kind of this ragtag group of family friends that are kind of bound together.
Hmm.
And this is our home, and this is what we do. And yet, in all of that pull emotionally, 11 is like, at the end here on the bus, she's like, no, I'm going to my friends. I'm going to my home. And that is Mike and Hopper and Dustin and Lucas and you know Will and Hawkins is home. And
Yeah.
she's been able to process this even at her young age and young experience in life, um to be shown all of these temptations and to come out saying no, Hawkins is home.
Yeah. We also get a look into like, after the girls have escaped the lab, what's their interaction been with the real world? And Kali says that she found what she thought was a home, but they couldn't help her. Was that what she said? They couldn't help me.
Yeah,
So she left them too, presumably.
she
Couldn't,
says I lost them.
oh, she lost them,
I don't
whatever
know.
that
I
means.
We didn't really talk much about that. I think maybe what happened is they just couldn't handle her powers, or they couldn't understand, like you were saying, she just feels like I can't be normal, because in her mind it's not an option to not use her powers.
Hmm.
Like she's going to be who she is using her powers. And if somebody doesn't
Yeah.
accept that, then that's kind of on them.
Yeah. So we didn't get I don't think we got the impression that whoever adopted her were mean to her or bad to her. It was just that she couldn't, like, probably like you said, couldn't be herself there in the real world. However, we're left right here with this scene. Eleven's had way less interaction with the real world than Kali has. Uh, but it's just so interesting on this last scene where Eleven's on the bus and she's got some huge walls up and she's probably scared to go back. But why did they choose to have this lady on the bus just be as friendly as possible? Like, just, you know, and that truly is a lot of the real world too. People, there's plenty of just good people out there, and this
Yeah.
kind old grandmotherly figure just, you know, barges into Elle's little bubble and is like, "Hey, can I sit by you? Where are you
Yeah.
going? Are you going to your parents?" Like, just she's just checking on her well-being. And it's like, hopefully for 11 more, that will reinforce 11's idea that no, the whole world is, they're not full of bad men. There are actual good people out there. And here's another one. Like, first it was Hopper that's just adopted her, but now just a random occurrence with a stranger is so
Yeah.
positive. Like, we just hope that this keeps pointing 11's moral compass to being a person who, doesn't harbor hate.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting. I just thought of this as you were talking. As she's going through the city at the very beginning, when she gets off the bus and she's trying to find where Kali is kind of in her vision, she has other people confront her, in that kind
Hmm.
of Skid Row alley or something. And obviously they're not as friendly, but she looks at them and says, mouth breather. But then when this, like you said, this lady kind of enters her world with friendliness and everything, she doesn't take the same approach. She doesn't just look at her like mouth breather. She opens up and says, I'm going to my friends. I'm going home.
Hmm.
So either she's recognizing the difference between these two different groups of people's intentions,
Hmm.
or she's just really good at yeah, I mean, I think that she's just really good at reading people's intentions. Like she knows the difference between somebody who's just trying to get something out of her or troll her or whatever versus somebody who really has good intentions,
Yeah.
uh, which is itself a superpower in the real world. Uh,
That's
but
true. That's true. Well,
there's plenty of ill-intentioned people in a big city, and there's plenty of ill-intentioned people in a small town. Um, and unfortunately, she didn't really meet many, really good intentioned, friendly people in the city.
that's true.
Um, but they are there, and she's going back now to the rural Hawkins that she came from, and she is going back to this small town where she knows that there's lots of evil there that she's got to confront.
Yeah. If I didn't know any better based on your background today, I would think you were in Hawkins, Indiana.
It's a beautiful day here in Southwest Ohio.
Yeah, that is not a, green screen, y'all. It's also going to be interesting because now Elle kind of looks even more. She looks the part of a freak, but she's going back, to her farm girl roots. So it'll be interesting to see, if people
Yeah,
treat if the first people she encounters there. Well, obviously not this lady on the bus, but depending on who she encounters, she definitely looks like a freak in a farm girl town.
she definitely did not undo all of her kind of big city goth makeup. I mean, she still got the slick back hair and the dark eye makeup and everything. So, yeah, she's going back to Hawkins looking very different, but she is going back into a war zone. I mean, when we left Hawkins before, it was under siege by these demo dogs, and nobody seemed to have a successful plan. 11 kind of sees something is going wrong. She doesn't know what it is, and she's headed right back into it. We presume, I hope, in episode 8 that we will get those answers.
Uh, I'd like to get those answers sooner than later. I don't know about
Yes.
you.
Yeah, we did take this amazing psychological, philosophical, ethical departure, but it's time to get back to business in Hawkins and what is going on.
Yeah, I mean, surely this last episode will be a nice tight bow, just wrapping things up, just so clean, concise. Like there's no way that, our minds are gonna be flayed. Wait,
Yeah,
is that a thing, a flare?
yeah. It's going to be a real mind effort. And by effort, I mean flair. Yeah, I mean, maybe it has something to do with this hive intelligence that Dr. Sam brought up. I mean, what? I mean, that's got to be some part of it, right? With the way that Will's reacting and the soil samples, like, we're not done with this yet.
Hmm.
So we're going to go watch episode 8.
Yeah. Couple buttons you need to be aware of. That subscribe button, that like button, skip
Please.
the intro and just click next episode.
Yes. So we're going to find out what happens in Hawkins in episode 8. 11's going back, and we'll pick up there, and we'll see the rest of you next time on that recap here on the Hawkins Observer.